So I'm not muted, right? Okay, so a few days ago, Sam he sends me this.
All right, Jor-El, this is your second message. I've left you one voicemail on your phone already. As I said in the first voice message, like Uncut Gems, I disagree. I disagree. I'm coming for you. Have your pen, have your paper ready. I'm coming for you.
So, I don't know how clearly that came through, but he decided to, in case it did not come through, he decided to call me out about the Flash. He said that he disagreed with my opinion. I hate the Flash. I gave it a 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Yeah. On a second rewatch, it's more of a 2 out of 10, but I still kind of feel about 3 out of 10 at the current time. Curiously, it got worse on a rewatch, but I've seen it 2 times in theaters. Some fuck decided to upload the entirety of the movie to Twitter, which I downloaded. I have it in the background.
Twitter is burning as we speak, you guys.
I have the entire movie. I have the entire Andy Muschietti movie in the background. Because this movie is so goddamn forgettable. So on the off chance that I forget anything, I have the whole movie in the background, which I'm sifting through now. So I'm very curious as to why Sam wanted to debate me about this film out of all films, but bring it on. Let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's my stance. 3 out of 10. It's a bad film. Yeah, my opinion aside, it seems like other people agree because this movie is bombing almost like something I've never seen for a movie this scale, this size. I think it's like 220 is a budget. Like this motherfucker is bombing.
210. 210 is where they kind of stood at based on a little bit of the marketing, but they didn't technically market this like they normally would. Comparison, like Thor 2, the budget was like 250. So the budget was a little on the low end in terms of a DC movie, for something this big, to be actually honest, but that's neither here nor there. In terms of me, I've seen the movie, I guess now 3 times. I've seen it 3 times. First time I saw it, it was unfinished, technically. And by unfinished, I'll preface it like this. The only thing they changed were some ADR changes, some audio here or there. I think it was the ending, really. Like the very last ending. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, just know we're going to be spoiling the mess out of this movie. So through this debate, even though this isn't an official spoilers, we will be talking spoilers. So please be forewarned if you haven't seen the movie yet. Okay, everybody's been warned. The ending where Flash is like, "Who did that for you?" And it ends up being George Clooney. When the movie ended for me, the first time watching it, he kind of looked and he didn't know who it was. And matter of fact, through I think the phone call, it actually sounded more like Michael Keaton. Originally, when the movie was, I guess, being in production before the regime change, it was supposed to be, I think, Michael Keaton was supposed to be reprising the role. He was supposed to be the Batman moving forward for the DCEU. And I think that in that same exact sequence, I think Sasha was supposed to be in it and some other things. That's neither here nor there. But for when I first saw it, it cut right there. And then it kind of was like, and I personally think that they should have just showed the whole movie then that time, because the next time watching it, it kind of left the movie at a little bit of a deflation because I was like, I'm waiting for this, but just one scene. It was so weird. And then the third time watching it, I watched it with some good friends and I saw it in IMAX. 6 stories, the biggest IMAX screen on the East Coast. It's at the Air Space Museum, so I was able to see it then. So for me personally, I actually felt like this movie, in terms of it being a entertaining superhero movie, I was very entertained by it. I actually had a good time watching it, even down to the third time around, because it wasn't just. My perception of it wasn't looking at it like a standalone. This was more so like a celebration of DC from the past, present, and what it was. Technically, this functions kind of like a prequel, which is weird. But then it's trying to be a standalone, and it also is an amalgam of every single caveat to what DC has been in the past, which was intriguing to me, which I actually found was very fun and pleasant, because I personally hated the Black Adam. And it's sad because the Black Adam, for me, the Justice Society was the high point of it, and everything with the family and all this other stuff, and the villain was very weak. It was just not, it was not an entertaining ride. Probably the best thing about that was probably the end credit sequence that really wasn't supposed to happen. But yeah, so this was a breath of fresh air for me. I actually really did enjoy it. So yeah, this is going to be really good to go through, because I'm not trying to convince Jor-El otherwise. He's not trying to convince me. We're just trying to comprehend and understand, because we haven't actually talked about our rationale with it. And I think it'll bring some really interesting conversation with you guys from a commentary standpoint. And so you guys, if y'all want to chime in the conversation below, please, let's go right into it. So, all right, so let's go and kick this off. And I'm going to tell you my nitpicks first about the movie, because I'm on the positive end. So I'm the one that's going to be the positive one. And then I'll let you tell me some small things that you might have liked about the film. Cool? So I'm going to go first with my nitpick, things I didn't like. And I'm going to kind of pinpoint those, because not that I'm calling myself Eminem, but I want to go ahead and just start everything off with what.
So a quick question. What led you to making those voicemails? Because you were very vague and shy about answering this question. Can you answer this now, or is this something you have to answer later in the stream or something? I always was curious about this, because for those watching you, I'm not kidding. I don't know why he wants to debate me about this movie. This movie is a clear-cut bad movie. Throw it in the trash. Life moves on. So I am.
Yeah. So to answer that question, I really fundamentally disagree. But I think the other thing about it is that I watch a lot of your reviews. I watch pretty much most of all the reviews you've done. I don't know if you did the same for me, but I watch most of everything you cover, and we talk about it in general. So I thought it was like, wow, this is a really good middle of the road to kind of pick open Jor-El's brain with, just to kind of get him to go over it, because I personally really do feel indifferent about it. So I think it was going to be really dope to talk about, because this movie is whittled with controversy before it even came out. Like, I personally would want to ask you, and I mean, you can answer it now if you want to, does Ezra Miller have any invoking place to increase your perspective on this movie, going into it and after watching it, having watched it? What I mean by that, I'll clarify that. Now, of course, some of it's been absolved, but I mean, some of his messed up things that he's been involved in when it comes to being outside the United States, some other controversial things he's done physically with other people. Did that have any invoking perspective change for you going into this movie and also after the fact? If it didn't, it's fine. But I was curious.
No.
Okay.
Like, just for me personally?
Just for you.
No. I watched it as I would any movie, as objectively leave whatever preconceived notions at the door type of way.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that question is because there is a lot. I want to say about half the population was like, no, I am not watching. Regardless of what they've heard, word of mouth, good or bad, critics or not, they did not want to support this film. Like, they were like, yeah, no, this dude's crazy. He's done some trash, and I'm not. I mean, they actually kept him out of the original red carpet press lining up until the day of release. They actually were going to keep him off then, but they kept him out of all the different roundtables and discussion. I'm not sure if you know all that. And I think, I mean, in looking at it, I mean, most of the people have said, like, I'm not supporting this man's movie. So I was just curious. I didn't think that was the case for you, but I was just curious. Okay. So I'm gonna go through my nitpicks real quick, and I'll let you go through any positives you have. If you don't have any, then that's fine. So first nitpick I had is the costume. The costume itself, I think the problem that I had with the costume is that there are good practical things with it physically. Like when you actually see it practically, it looks really good. But I've seen this happen with a lot of Marvel films as well. I mean, specifically with Spider-Man. They just splash CGI all around it and over it, and it comes across looking disjointed and off. And I think it kind of took me out sometimes, but it wasn't enough to kind of keep me away. But I'll go into more of that later because I know you're going to bring up probably something in the very beginning of the movie. Another nitpick I had was the value of showing a certain person who actually killed Nora. Like they kind of left it. The last movie that I saw did this, which was it Green Lantern? Maybe it was another one where you know who the actual person that killed Nora. Going back through the scene, when the scene happened, Barry was upstairs. He saw his dad coming out. He heard his mom screaming. So we know who killed his mom. But within the confines of the movie, they were like, Barry said, oh, I don't want to directly interact with that person because that's crossing a line. And in his mindset, like, you saying something subtly, that's not going to be that bad because I'm not directly contacting it. But I was like, that would have been a great, underlier. Like the understanding that, yes, Barry did make this change, but the whole entire timeline was changed from that specific moment. And I think that Andy had already said, I think he said in interviews that, of course, that was Reverse Flash and that this was leading to this. But you never know what's going to happen. And at this point, based on the box office, I can say this. He's probably not going to be able to, tell his version of the Reverse Flash. And that was a lost opportunity, in my opinion. I thought that was another nitpick I would add. A big one that you're probably going to bring up is the CG when it comes to the actual Speedverse. When the Speedverse is actually cycling around. And I don't know if you know the cosmic treadmill from as far as the comics. I think that's what they were trying to go for, which is why he was going back and forth. The cosmic treadmill is what he uses to go and propel into back in time and forward in time. And so I think that's what they tried to create with the orb. The problem is when I looked at it and I was talking to somebody else, I was like, let me research this. And Andy kind of was like, it was supposed to be a distorted reality going back and forth into phases. But I think that if they would have just did honestly what the Flash show did, which is actually take a segment or a picture or a moment, that would have came off better and more appeasing to the general public. Because there's no person that I can say looks at when he's going and phasing in and out, and it's like, this CG for this just doesn't work. And it's so weird because when you got great CG for the Kryptonians, but when the focus is on the Flash, him going in and out, it's weird and displeasing to look at. And then I guess my last nitpick is that, unfortunately, when I did watch it, the unfinished version, and I watched the finished version, I was kind of like, oh, whoa, I just finished looking at Spider-Verse. And the Spider-Verse, for all intents and purposes, I have not actually did my review for that. And I can't wait to do that next week. That's next Saturday. Shameless plug for that. Spider-Verse may be one of the best animated superhero films I've seen in the past 5 years. Maybe one of the best films this year. And so when you hit like a milestone like that on a multiverse level, like you kind of like, oh man, like I've seen all these different multiverse type things. You've seen WandaVision, you've seen Loki, you've seen Doctor Strange 2, and then you see this, and it's like, this is a step up for sure. But Spider-Verse, it hit like a stratosphere that nobody can make comparison to. And I think that kind of people is still very prevalent in people's minds. And so you try to compare the two, you just really kind of can't. But you're not supposed to, I don't think, personally. But yeah, those are some of my nitpicks. I mean, I got some others, but the rest of them are going to teeter into what questions and gripes that you're going to bring into that I can kind of comment on for equal or less value. So those are some of my nitpicks, just so we can kind of be fair and kind of going through. So yeah. And then, if you got any positives, if you don't have any, it's fine. I'm ready for that.
No, I do have some positives. It is not it's not a 1 out of 10. But positives. There definitely is not many. It's worth noting that I didn't take any notes for this. Literally just got my memory and the movie pulled up in the background. Positives. Well, I do think that everything prior to us running into the second Barry, the younger Barry, everything prior to that, I think there's an argument there that the movie is likable or decent. There are some things that I like there, fleeting, but that I do like. For example, I do love the way that Andy Muschietti, the director, I love the way that he emphasizes just how fast the Flash can run. I think when we see the opening title card, actually, I have the movie right here. Let me see. I believe when we see the ultimate, when we see literally Ezra's face, he's got the suit on, and it literally says The Flash. That moment where he runs, that first moment where he takes off running is, terrible visual effects aside, that conceptually is fantastic. I mean, he is running at such a rate. It almost reminded me of when, in the first Fast and the Furious, when they would go fast enough, there'd be this cool camera blur. I think the first Fast and the Furious came out in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. But there used to be this camera blur that emphasized the speed, which I thought was fantastic. And there's a bit of that here, but it's just dialed up to 11, and the rate at which he is running is so unfathomable. That's something that you just can't. As strange as this is, when I saw this film, people have always asked me, who do you think could beat the other in a race, a foot race, Superman and the Flash? Now, ordinarily, I always say Superman. But now, ironically, because of this movie, this is one of the first times where I was like, damn, I think the Flash is fucking Superman up in a foot race. It doesn't matter where to. Just the way that the terrains were zipping by, and it was almost as if he was the USS Enterprise going warp speed on foot. It's outrageous. There's another shot. When was this? This is when he was he was in the suit. It was nighttime. He was standing outside of his house. He was saying a memory. He saw a memory of himself as a boy run past him, literally on the street. He's got tears in his eyes, and then he starts running. Even that shot, it's just amazing, not visually, but it's amazing for the imagination, conceptually, because CGI-wise, it doesn't look like the greatest thing ever, but what they were trying to do with the CGI, is great, because it's like a sideways shot. I think it's going right to left, him running, and it kicks up, and then his feet is running so fast it's blurring, something, something you see out of Dragon Ball Z or something. It's fantastic. And then unfortunately we get to that weird spherical orb thing, and there's giant CGI babies. And it's what in the fuck, Andy? But yeah, prior to all that though, watching the neighborhood, just, you're seeing houses, and you're just seeing lines of color and blurs. Just whoa. I really love the way. So yeah, the first half of the film is likable to decent. The way they showed just how fast he can run is pretty extraordinary. At least in these two instances highlighted. Maybe hot take, but again, ugly visualness aside, I actually liked what they did with Ben Affleck's Batman. Not crazy about the cowl or whatever. Not crazy about that, but
other than talking about his armored scene, hit with the armor and the chase scene.
Just all the scenes with him in suit, anyways. Ironically, I actually liked that. It was, I don't know, it was just interesting. It was very peculiar seeing Batman in just broad daylight.
Yeah.
And him, those highway sequences. It was just interesting. It was just visually interesting. and just this chase sequence with him on the that bat motorcycle or whatever, and then the moment between him and Wonder Woman, bizarrely, I liked. There was something just funny and just cute there. There was something about when Wonder Woman and Batman, when they initially acknowledge each other just through the eyes and their faces, just without speaking. I don't know. It was just adorable. It was It was just cute. It really did feel like something out of a comic book that I've read. It was intriguing. Or when she has the lasso of truth around Batman's wrist, and he starts fucking admitting some bullshit like, the reason why I do this is because of my insecurity. Like all it's decent, likable. When it's literal Ben Affleck, it's nighttime. He's talking to Barry, who's being annoying as fuck. But when he's talking to Barry, and Barry's eating some bullshit. Just the monologue or dialogue there for Ben Affleck, I thought was decent to likable. But I think that's where my positives conclude.
Cool. All right.
Well, I will say there was one shot inside of the Michael Keaton Bat Cave with that. I don't even know what the hell to call that thing. That just bat plane is descending right before that second younger Barry faints stupidly. Yeah. That whole sequence that was likable.
Okay. No, I mean, look, I didn't expect any, so I went into this with you weren't gonna have any, so this is fine with me. Before we kind of cut into it, I did have a question for you. Zack Snyder's Justice League. If I remember correctly, you did enjoy that, right? What was your take on the Flash in that movie, and also Ezra playing Barry in that movie? Do you look at how Ezra played Barry in that movie differently than how he played it in this movie? I was just kind of curious before we kind of go into the back and forth of all this.
I definitely enjoyed him in the Snyder Cut more so than in this movie, for sure. Okay. Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I have something to say about that.
And I love the Snyder Cut, by the way. These fucking psycho fanboys have kind of like soured my fucking opinion about him, about the movie and Zack Snyder. I've just been like, shit, maybe I should just stay away from Zack Snyder because some of these, I should say super fans, some of these super fans they are literally out of their fucking minds. But no, I love the Snyder Cut. Shit, I never really did an official review of it, but it's mostly just like long reactions. But when I first saw it, and we went through it like 2-3 times, something crazy, because the movie's like 4 hours. But shit, when I initially was talking about it, I gave that motherfucker a 10 out of 10. After all this time, after finally getting a chance to like meditate on it, it's probably more of a 9 out of 10. But I did see it multiple times. I gave it a 10 out of 10. So who knows? I'll have to solve this on a rewatch. But yeah, it's either a 9 or a 10 out of 10 for me. I think the Snyder Cut fucking slaps. It's fucking fantastic. It's just it's a literal rated R 4-hour Justice League movie that is completely out of his fucking mind. And if that's not lovable, then what is, as a comic book nerd? So, and yeah, I thought that Ezra was, I definitely liked him more there. He wasn't annoying, in my opinion, in the Snyder Cut. I even thought that the Snyder Cut used him poetically, especially compared to here.
No. So, all right. So we're going to go and get into the nitty gritties of all this. I wish I had a coin so we could do who's going to do pros and first, which is me, and who's going to do the cons first, which is you. How are we going to do this? I'll let you go first. So you get first jabs at your issues with the film. The way that I'm going to tackle it, I've got certain subsets of things that I feel like, because I'm not going to say that this is the best movie in the world. I'm never going to say that. But I will say this is a good movie and a very entertaining one. And I'll kind of break down my reasons for that for anybody that wants to hear it. But yeah, I'll let you go first and kind of kick this thing off. So we'll go back to forth. So you want to pinpoint something, then I'll go and pinpoint something completely different.
So you want me to go through why I don't like the film? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Why is it a bad film? Because the thing, I'll say this. Well, I'll ask this question first before we go there as well. Do you think a movie can be entertaining and bad, or do you think a movie can be entertaining and it has to be good?
No, a movie can be entertaining and bad. I usually label that as like a guilty pleasure type of thing. But
okay. But this one for you wasn't entertaining and it was bad. Just for clarification.
Was it entertaining and bad? Is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm. For you.
I'm not sure how to... Not as a whole, no. No.
So it wasn't entertaining and it was still bad.
Like, you know, like, again, everything before the second Barry comes in, I think it's... There are parts that are likable or decent, for sure.
Okay.
But as the movie as a whole, and unfortunately on the second rewatch, when I saw it a second time, it got worse as a whole. So,
okay, the floor is yours, sir, and then I will give my hot takes, and we'll go into this.
Oh dear, why is this a bad movie? Okay, so first off, just overall, the CGI, the visual effects are bad. They're almost strikingly bad. For example, like at the beginning of the film, where the Flash he goes to rescue these falling babies. This is when I knew like I almost collapsed into like the most hilarious facepalm of all time, because my lord, these visual effects are just so. It is astounding what James Cameron did with Avatar 2, because the visual effects, like this movie has a budget of like $220 million. Okay, for God's sakes, what was it? Danny Boyle's Sunshine from fucking like 2006, 2007, with like a budget of I think it was like 40-ish mil, something like that. Way less than 200 million. Okay, it has visual effects leaps and bounds better than this movie. Leaps and bounds. Like I love The Matrix Reloaded. It's like an 8 out of 10 for me. But The Matrix Reloaded has some fucking terrible CGI, baby. Terrible. For example, like when it's like Neo versus like 100 Agent Smiths. There's part, you know, even back then when there impossible things are happening and they had to switch to CGI. I was just, even back then I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a fully CG, unconvincing Keanu Reeves. My God in heaven. I was like, damn, watching Flash, I was like, fuck, I haven't seen CGI this bad since Bad Examples from 2003. Lord have mercy, the CGI was so bad. When he was saving those babies, the CGI is so unconvincing. Maybe I should say that instead of saying bad. It's just so unconvincing. Like, it is so clear that most of the times when my guy is in the Flash suit, it's completely CG. Painfully so. When he's saving those babies, it's so clear that most of the shots are just CGI baby shots. It's just like, my God, it's like I just can't bring myself to be like impressed by what's happening, because it just seems so fake. The whole job of great CGI, great visual effects, is to make you be like, whoa. Not so much that you're like, you know, going home like, oh my god, Superman flew in the movie Frill, Mom, you don't understand. Like, obviously it's not that, but you're meant to see the visual effects and be like impressed, convinced. Nothing like that happened here. So yeah, throughout the visual effects and CGI was bad. I thought that Ezra Miller was really annoying. This really came to light in the rewatch. Like, Ezra Miller's performance is just, I don't know. Some people have been like, you know, the movie's so funny. Like what? No. If I ever laughed, it was me laughing at the movie. The movie was not hilarious. It was not really funny. I thought that Ezra Miller's performance. It doesn't matter which version of Barry my nigga was playing. They're annoying. Lord have mercy. Jesus Christ. Ezra Miller in this whole movie. This motherfucker's just like let's pretend like he's eating a fucking burrito or something. He's just like, so what are you doing tomorrow, Batman? He's just doing dumb shit. Like when he was talking to Iris in that apartment, and cracks open like a Samuel Adams or something like that.
Yeah,
and like it explodes all over him, and there's like a pause, as if the filmmaker literally was like, "Laugh, audience." It's just like, no, like this.
Yeah, like
dumb. The movie's littered with dumb, unfunny comedic moments like this.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna tap in.
Well, I have a bunch more. Negatives, by the way, but those are some that came to mind.
No, that's fine. So a reason I asked, I have two things on both of those. So you remember like Tobey Maguire, right? The first Spider-Man movie, when Tobey Maguire just randomly is like getting beat up, and then he just happens to see Mary Jane slip, and he catches all the stuff. Like, that does come off like, you know, kind of like, oh, wow, he's got fast reflexes, so it made it work. And of course, there's cringy dialogue when you go back and watch the original Spider-Man. But because it's a classic, we don't go back and think about it or talk about it. But as far as the Iris West in his apartment building, you thought that was too much? Like,
I'm saying that the comedy that they were trying for, like with him opening that beer and just like splashes all over him, and he's just like trying to act like nothing happened. That was meant to be a comedic moment. Yeah. Didn't work. So, not for me, anyway.
That's why I was curious, because
most of the comedy sort of feels that way. There's a lot of attempts at like, even like when they were trying to start the opening credits for the first time, where it says the Flash, and he's
when the girls are looking at him, and they're kind of like, "Oh my God, I love you," and then
he gets interrupted by the crowd, and like the opening credits fades away, and like there's
and then he gets a phone call from Bruce.
Yeah, like it's okay. It's okay. So I wasn't one of those people who was like, I wasn't one of those people.
So for you, it was just unnecessary comedy, not so much that. Or was it unnecessary, or was it you felt like they were trying too hard? The only reason why I asked that, because I used the Tobey Maguire example, because the purpose for that was to show, I guess in my perspective, is that, okay, he just phased through something with these bottles, and he's definitely shaking them up, and they're definitely, because it's kind of like, either they could have just left it out, or it would have been like, because he's a goofy dude. Like, even like going back to the Justice League Unlimited, Barry, actually, I think in the Justice League, I think that was actually Wally West, but he was always a goofball, always.
That's fine. That's fine. You know, I enjoyed him in the Snyder Cut. I don't know to what degree he was in the Snyder Cut, but I enjoyed him in the Snyder Cut, and that motherfucker was 4 hours. So
yeah, he was in it a good amount. But the thing I think with that one is that the majority of the time, he was trying to get his dad out. The only time where he had like a comedic moment is when he was, you know, interacting with Cyborg, or when he was trying to save Iris West, and he was like the dogs, right? He had the wieners and put the wiener dogs to the dogs and got the job. Still, I mean, the reason why I asked that, because he's the exact same Barry there that he is here. It's just we're dealing with him for the entire movie. So it's like, I felt like if you weren't sold on Ezra there, I don't think you would have gotten it here either. But the CGI, I do question. I do have a question for you with that, because there have been plenty other films that have had terrible, and I mean terrible CGI. I mean, I use the example of Spider-Man because most of the Spider-Man live action with Tom Holland, they have splashed this man with CGI. I think except for Endgame. In Endgame and Infinity War, like I think his spider suit, the metallic suit, does look decent, but every other Spider-Man movie, it's been bad. And with this one, I looked at Thor 4, dude, and I hated Thor 4 for different reasons altogether. But the main thing is that every single scene with Thor or with the little girl or with Natalie Portman, those scenes were all CG and they were horrible. The comedy did not work. So the same things that you're having issues with this, as far as the comedy with Ezra, them trying and it not landing, I felt the same exact way about Thor. I hated Thor. And I think for different reasons, but I'm not going to go into it right yet. But I do question, and I think this is part of the reason why I wanted to do this. Like, you gave Thor a 7 out of 10. And for the life of me, I never understood why. And I want you to kind of talk on it because Thor, much like this, in certain spots, in my opinion, does have, well, I actually think the CGI of Thor is worse than this, but the comedy does not, like the goats, bro, the goats screaming at us and flying along. The fact that Thor at any time could have shared his abilities, like, I don't understand how you can have an issue with this level of bad CGI. But to be fair, you have taken the time off, and I think you did say that this is one of the first ones you kind of went back into. And I don't know if you feel indifferently about Thor as far as his CGI or his premise or his comedy now as you did then. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really get your perspective when it comes to bad CG if we're using that one.
Full disclaimer: the CGI, and there's a lot of bad CGI in Thor 4.
Yeah. Okay. I just trying to understand. But yeah, and you already said that there's other reasons that you dislike this film, so we're gonna go through it. We're gonna unpack it.
I did like, and just to, because I know MCU is fucking weird about movies that they hate. Apparently, Thor 4 is one of them. Thor 4 around then was when I stopped paying attention to the MCU, but no, I like Thor 4. But disclaimer, I'm not saying, I mean, the odds of me ever watching the movie again ever in life are near zero. But if I just so happened to be watching it, and when I did watch it, I liked it. There were parts that made me laugh. Ironically, the thing with the goats you're talking about made me laugh because it was just so absurd. There was a lot of mostly bad CGI, but at least there were moments that I thought were just interesting. Like there was a moment on this, I think it was like a moon or something, or some kind of like really small planets where it was like Thor versus Christian Bale's character, and it was like I think it was like black and white or something like that. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. I thought was intriguing or decent.
I think it took me out the same way that you're describing The Flash took me out, because it started off with Thor. He's going through his Chuck Norris montage of getting fit again, and then we bring in the Guardians, and they did not work at all. Not only were they not funny, they just weren't directed well for that. And I don't know. I mean, I always looked at that movie as not only bad, but forgettable. And I don't know. I was going to ask you, have you seen it? But you already said you probably wouldn't see it again. Would you still keep it the same?
Most MCU films I wouldn't see again, or contents, because now they have series. But yeah, most MCU content I would not replay. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was likable. I definitely thought it was more enjoyable than this film for me personally. I thought the Christian Bale's villain, there should have been more there, was just intriguing. I thought a lot of the worlds, like whatever world Russell Crowe shows up in. It's
Yeah.
like in the Coliseum or something. A lot of the worlds, the visual details was more interesting to me. When Russell Crowe shows up, I was just dying laughing. It's just dumb. It's very absurd. But I guess the nonsensical humor worked in spots for me. Way more than The Flash. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I don't know. But I don't know. The anyway. MCU fans are weird. It seems like a lot of them hated Ant-Man 2. I enjoyed Ant-Man 2.
So I
don't know.
I enjoyed Ant-Man. I enjoyed that one, but
I feel like maybe a lot of what's happening is an expectation thing, because I never walked into Ant-Man 2 or Thor 4 expecting something great or masterful, or I didn't have this list of expectations or anything like that.
So do you think...
I don't know if that kind of ties into me liking said films. Maybe.
Yeah, I was curious about that because somebody, I forget who it was saying that technically this is officially the Flash's first film, and even though people know the Flash from John Wesley Shipp back in the day, who had a small run, and then of course Grant Gustin as the Flash, which I think you just did a review on the finale for that, which was dope. I did one as well. But outside of that, do people really want to actually see the Flash? Like, I was curious your perspective on that, because like everybody knows Batman, everybody knows Wonder Woman, but nobody's ever seen like a Flash movie. They've seen him in cartoons and they've seen him on the show, but that's it. And so do you think it is a measure of Andy's capability to bring it out so that everybody focuses in on it, like he's a big character, or was the Flash never that big of a character to garner that amount of exposure in general? I was curious on that.
People just want a great film. I don't think people care what's happening on screen. They just want a great film. They want great word of mouth. That's it. Like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the marketing was so fascinating because like us nerds, us non-casual movie fans, been following Guardians since like the first concept art. We were like, how the hell are they gonna sell something about like a talking tree and like some green lady and some guy who's really just stuck in the 80s, and Drax? Like, how are they gonna do this? But shockingly, it came across as a great film. So in a way, it didn't matter whether people knew the characters or not. So I don't agree with this thing where it's like, oh no, people don't want the Flash movies. Like, no, people just want a great movie, and people are smart, and people could sense that this was not worth their time. People keep trying to.
But you can't say that with this though, because
why not? Because it's clearly reflected because no one went to see it.
No, because it would already. You can't deny that there are people. 50% of the population wouldn't see this movie because of Ezra Miller alone, let alone the controversy in between the DCEU. Because the thing is, and I'll even say this: James Gunn said, I think the week of the premiere, that just to let you guys know, the very first person that's a part of my new universe is the Blue Beetle. That's it. And so people knew, kind of like this happened with Daredevil, I believe. Daredevil season 3. They canceled Daredevil the day before release. And then like Netflix convenient was like, season 3 is the lowest of Daredevil. But the people knew, what's the point of me continuing to watch this or giving my time if there's nothing going to be continued out there? So you got two different big things. And I'm not making excuses for it, but it's still technically a fact. Why would I go and watch a movie that's not going anywhere? Why would I go and watch a person that on paper and based on what I've seen in the news is controversial and potentially is not something I want to bring into any kind of light to give them any kind of money or exposure? Like, you can't deny that. That's a fact surrounding this movie, right?
It's a thing surrounding the movie, yeah. Sure.
Right. So that's going to affect the box office. That's going to affect people wanting to see it, whether or not they have good, because technically, I mean, I don't go off of movie stars saying, like, even James Gunn said, I think Stephen King randomly said something like, what's Hideo Kojima just put up a post was like, hey, I really enjoyed the Flash movie, just like weeks after the fact, which is weird. But no, there are people that said that they enjoyed this film, but people don't care. Like it's so like there is an actual stigma of people that are like, I'm not giving them my business for this anyway. That's just a fact.
I mean, just in my personal opinion, like people keep trying to draw up this laundry list of like why this movie failed, and it's like for me, if we're just talking about like mass amounts of people, this is my personal opinion, mass amounts of people, the casual moviegoer, I think it literally was just as simple as was word of mouth good, and does it look interesting? And quite clearly, on both fronts, mass amounts of people said no. Which is interesting because they even had like, Supergirl and like Michael Keaton's Batman. But I think the issue here is like, it's been how many, no disrespect to Michael Keaton's Batman, but like it's been how many years since, Michael Keaton's been Batman? This Supergirl is a literal question mark. Maybe it's gonna be a hot take with some of you nerds, but even like Ezra Miller as a Flash is a question mark. Like there hasn't been any previous Flash movies. The only time you've ever seen Ezra Miller's Flash is if you were nerdy enough to sit through 4 hours of Zack Snyder's blah blah blah, or you watched BVS. Or if you remembered BVS,
right? That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, like, people are just like, oh, well, all these people didn't go see it because of all this controversy. Like, what? What do you mean? Tell me that, like, most of the movie-going audience was like, oh no, I don't want to go see this movie because Ezra's controversial. Like, no, maybe they didn't want to go see him because they're just like, who is it? Well, maybe not so much who is he again, but like in relation to his character, like this version of the Flash for Ezra Miller, like who is this again?
Right.
who is this Supergirl? Like, like. But
we're saying we're saying the same thing. Like, there's no intrigue to continue this if this is not going to be the Flash moving forward. This is not going to be the Supergirl moving forward. If this is not,
I don't even think they were thinking that far though. I don't even think most people thought that at all. I think most people literally were just like, "Damn, the word of mouth is not great." This movie, like, I'm not even sure what it's trying to say. Like, we have Michael Keaton's Batman, we have a Superman or Supergirl that I don't know. We have a Flash that like, have I seen this person as Flash before? Have they made a movie about this Flash? What's going on? I feel like most people looked at it that way, and we're just like, I'll just catch Guardians or The Little Mermaid.
And I said this about myself. I watched the unfinished version, and then immediately after that, I think the next day, I watched Spider-Verse. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I ended up watching this. And this is a whole nother thing. Because you got, during that time when that released out, you still had Guardians playing. You still had Spider-Verse playing. And I think Fast 10 was also still playing. And then you had like other movies like The Blackening and a couple other movies. So it's like, what would you rather see? Something that you've already seen previous films of, which is Guardians, which is Spider-Verse, and continue that for even Fast 10, even Transformers, and watch something that you know for a fact, which is a surefire thing, or would you take a chance on seeing this first movie with all this around? Like, what I'm saying is that there are other options that they already know and they feel safe about going towards than to go and do something that, like, who really cares moving forward? And I don't know what this is.
I think it doesn't matter. I think it was always destined to fail. I don't think it matters what movies would have been surrounding it. I don't think that there was ever going to be a good time to release this specific film. I think this specific film was always going to end up as it was. It doesn't matter if Oppenheimer was playing, the Pixar Elemental movie was playing. It's sort of is irrelevant whatever was playing around it. I think it was destined to fail because, in my opinion, I think it just came across as confusing. It probably made most people like squint to be like, "What's happening here?" And then combine that with the bad word of mouth. Oh,
yeah, this is
and then when you have people like James Gunn that people do know, like, oh, isn't that the guy who made Guardians? Like, there are people who know James Gunn when he's yakking away about this whole new DC universe, shit. So it really makes this Flash movie like, forget about it. It was destined to fail. Destined to fail. I'm not buying, most people's skits because of the rap sheet on Ezra or, all these early screenings. Like, it was just bad word of mouth. It just gave question marks. Skip it.
Yeah, so I do want to touch this, though, because I did actually put this in my notes, is that shout out to the Lowdown Show. The Lowdown Show, actually, shout out to him. He actually gave me my first interview, like, as a content creator. So shout out to him. If you want to go to his channel, go and check it out. An interview with JVS is there. But he's saying what made The Flash not successful was too many early screenings. By the time it came out, I was not invested because I heard so many reviews. And I mean, I think what he's also saying is that he heard good things and bad things. But he said that The Flash was good. I was there. It was packed. Everybody I knew was like, hey, my movie theater is sold out. They did another one. And they did this, I want to say 3 days in a row, which is crazy. No, it was like 2 weeks in a row. The first 2 screenings were free that first week. And then the last one, I think, was like a random one as well. But the weird thing about it is that I was like, bro, like, these are free. Like, these aren't they ain't costing me money. So there was tons of people that were trying to get in those. They were selling out theaters. And I thought that was really weird, but I don't think it helped, unfortunately, because a lot of people were kind of like, man, I couldn't get in. And people were having some trepidation about that whole process. But yeah, going to my pros, because I hadn't even gone into pros. We went on a whole tangent. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry. It just I misinterpreted the early screening thing. There wasn't a lot of good reviews from the early screenings. All the early screenings were bad.
No. What he's saying is that he saw so many early reviews. He was like, what's the point? Because after watching it, it's not going anywhere. After people have already said, those people that are like, they'll watch it and it's like, oh, yep, this is in. I've enjoyed the movie. This is great, but this is a good closing, and now we're going to see where it's going to move forward. But
bad word of mouth is, that's effective. But I for some reason, I always dismissed the early screening angle because, like, I wasn't there a lot of positive feedback from the early screenings?
Yeah, all of them were very positive, but they ended with saying, like, okay, well, this is the end. Either one of the ones that was the second round saw the ending with George Clooney, and that was it. And they're like, there's no motivation for me. I could care less about Aquaman, what some of them were saying, because there was a weird stinger with him at the end. And then a lot of them was like, is George Clooney going to be the new Batman for the Batman Brave and Bold? I don't think so. So it was kind of like, what are we doing here? And hearing that before the actual movie release weeks ahead, and then half the people already have seen it, I think that's going to affect it anything. But anyway, one of my pros. Actually, this is a funny thing. One of my pros is actually Ezra Miller. I think that he is absolutely a cornball. The younger version of Barry is an absolute cornball, but I do think that Ezra Miller, when there are engaging single emotion impact moments, he delivers with each one of them. I think there is a moment where the younger Barry is kind of with him and just having like a real conversation about the teddy bear. I think not teddy bear. What is it? Oh my God. I think it's a monkey. And he was like, dude, why are you so mad at me? And we knew, if you even look at the Zack Snyder's Justice League, he's had this thing. We saw it in his room. And while he was going and, when he was at, I think, their house or whatever, he saw the bear was just like stabs and stuff like that. And that's the only thing of resonance that he had left of his mom. Where this other one is so entitled, had all this spoiled stuff with him. Like, the other one really didn't get it. And I think that it's weird because he's delivering these lines off of himself, which is very fascinating. He was able to get that done. But I think when he was electrocuting himself, And I think the first time watching, I was like, the younger Barry was so annoying to me. But second time watching it, I was watching him and he was like crying. Like he was legit terrified that, you know, his older self had just died because he hadn't had anything close to kinship. Even though he's got all these things, got this family, like he's feeling such a connection to this older version of himself that he was weeping and scared that he was going to die. I thought that he did a really good job establishing that emotion with that scene. But bar none, the best scene, absolutely, with Ezra. And I think the actress' name is Maribel Verdú. She was a pleasant surprise in this one. I think that she actually did a really good job. Every scene she was in, she just came off as the most natural, loving mother, which makes her death so much more heartbreaking to me. Because in the final moment, when Barry finally is putting the tomatoes back and he's having this conversation with him, he's like weeping underneath these shades. And she recognizes her son in him, whether or not she says it, she can feel it. And I think that them going back and forth and they're partnering on that, I think he delivered those lines. And I think that they worked off each other very well. Ezra is actually a really good actor. I think that he can play those emotive scenes very naturally, which in my personal opinion, like I think that he pulled off one of the best action moments in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is, I'm trying to pull it up, because he got a lot of good ones, but the one where he is going back in time and he has to speed heal himself and he realizes like there's nothing left and he's kind of going back and he's like, Dad, I want you to remember, regardless what happens, like your son did it. You know, like he can hit those numbers. I think that there's a equal balance though that has to be met, because I think that the comedic moments I didn't have any issues with. Most of the people I've talked to didn't find it too cringy. But there were some people that were kind of like, this may be a little much. But I honestly, if I take that with any of these stupid Marvel or DC movies or general superhero movies, they all do this. They all have these random moments of similar like laughter or joy just for the sake of it. This one, it was kind of like he's partnering off of himself. Like he's finding himself annoying, literally. One funny moment that I did find funny, and I don't think it should have been, was when he lost his powers. And everybody in the theater, I don't know if your theater was laughing or not, but when he lost his powers and he was sitting there running around in a circle, I was like, this scene should not work. It should, on paper, this should be the most unfunny thing in the world. But I found myself laughing and other people around me laughing. But I think that he has it within him to be a good Flash. I think if given the right material and specifically certain script things to add and remove, I will say there's certain scenes that they could remove that would have made it a little bit more emotional. Some emotional depth would have been able to be added moving forward with it. But yeah, I actually feel like he delivered some really good scenes. And some I could pick some more, but I don't want to waste too much time because I want to kind of give us time to go through everything.
What did you want me to comment on?
You don't have to if you want to. If you want to, you don't have to. But
what like on what you saw is good? I mean, well, first off, Lord save me. When like most of the time when it's Barry and the younger Barry, like I always knew when it was the Barry that we've been following through the movie up until the point when it's the younger Barry when he has the CGI face on, or vice versa.
I can agree with that.
With the CGI every single time. And I get that the movie was trying to fool me. But, you know, I'm a filmmaker. I watch film obsessively. I obsess over film. I'm a huge fan of cinema. So for someone like me, you know, every single time it's Ezra's CGI face. Like when he's fainting from seeing the huge bat wing plane landing in the Batcave, you know. I notice it immediately, you know. Yeah. That moment where, you know, he's Ezra Miller, he's running that circle and his powers aren't there.
I was cracking up.
And he's just running like some... I mean, there's definitely people who've laughed in probably every screening, but these people were not me.
No, that's fair enough.
Unfortunately, it was just really it's interesting they say that all MCU films have some kind of intentional cheese, but I guess in this case it did not work.
Yeah,
I found Barry almost excruciatingly annoying. I mean, he just comes like when he's at that restaurant at the beginning of the movie.
And the dude was not making his freaking sandwich.
Yeah, was it a sandwich? I was about to say a taco, but yeah, he was like, "Come on, sir, I need to like get my sandwich." And I wish I could think. Maybe I'll just go to the film and see if something stands out. But he just, or when he's talking to Iris for one of the first times in the film on the street, and his friends are trying to. Oh no! They're trying to come across as like embarrassing, and it's like, hey guys, can you guys get out of here? Can you guys get out of here? I'm trying to flirt with Iris. Just like, come on. Do you think I'm?
The friends did not. The friends did not work for me. Neither. I'll admit that. Like the friends, I could have taken them out of the movie both times. Both incarnations of the friends, I could have taken out. But I mean, what about the scene with him and his mom? Like. You saying that wasn't? What did you feel about that?
I mean, the scenes with him and his mom. I mean, they were cute, but it wasn't enough to like let me throw points on the scoreboard. But no, I mean, the scenes with him and his mom, like I thought they were. I don't know about all of them, but for the most part, they were pretty cute, adorable. I wouldn't. Lord, some people have got some extreme takes for this movie. But yeah, I'm not one of those people who would have wrote some like paragraph on Twitter about how emotionally affected I was. But sure, that they were interesting. I could almost put those in my positives, most of the scenes. But again, I'm not one of these people who was like near weeping. I wasn't one of these people who was just like, "Oh my god, it's so beautiful."
Yeah,
like it was not. It was nowhere near that deep.
There was
nowhere near.
I think the second screening I was in, it was the first screening. It was with Lucas. Lucas was next to this lady, and it was a black lady. And every single time they were trying for a comedic moment or a thrilling moment, or like a moment like the end, like she was crying, laughing, and just entertained the whole time. And there were other people I've seen like that. The first time I saw that scene with the mom, I didn't choke up, but I felt it because I was like, I went back to Barry from Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I was like, man, this man, all he's been trying to do is get his dad out, and now. Like he was told, and like I do like that scene you were talking about with Ben, and even Michael Keaton later, because Michael Keaton had a conversation with him. Like, look, I spent my whole entire life, trying to save Gotham, trying to save other people, basically trying to bring my parents back through my actions, and you literally did it. And I think that was the first time I'd ever felt like a connection with Batman and the Flash, because I mean, they technically on paper it makes sense. Like they both have tragedy, but this one I was like, okay, this actually did work. So I don't know. That's an interesting hot take from you. And I literally saw a post on Twitter. I'm talking like a fat, like it was borderline like it was like an essay on Twitter about someone being emotionally moved by the scenes between Barry and his mom, and I'm just like, brother. Yeah, I was surprised by your boy Hideo Kojima. I was like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Grant Gustin and stuff, but I did like the way that this works.
He's such a he kind of like reminds me of you. He's a very, very, very generous person. Real sweetheart. It don't take too much to put a smile on it. Put a smile on a nigga's face. Okay, So I'm not like very surprised by that. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm like cold, dark, and brooding.
Do you feel like James lied to you when he made the statement when he said that this is one of the the best.
Well, I mean, maybe he did mean it. It's possible that he meant it. It's hard to believe, but I mean, maybe he did. He does have. Gonna retract that, but yeah, maybe he did really mean it, which is fine. I mean, hell, I like Thor 4, and I'm sure there's like people in the comment sections right now like, oh, that destroys your opinion. I can't listen to you. Oh, these angry Twitter fingered motherfuckers. But no, genuine, I did like Thor 4. Don't think I would ever watch it again. Don't have a reason to, like literally most of the MCU, but I don't know. I do wonder if me not being so jacked into the MCU upon watching it is what led to me liking the film. It's very interesting to me because when I watched Thor 4, forgot the movie even existed, hadn't really seen any trailers. I'm not like looking into MCU news, casting rumors. Like I just watched it very just blank slate, Yeah. And sure as fuck was not expecting a great or masterful film in any way, shape, or form. So
in other words,
I liked it.
James set him up, y'all. That's what happened.
It had more likable aspects than The Flash, as crazy as I guess that probably sounds to you little MCU nerds.
But anywho, so yeah, now I'll let you, it's your corner.
Sure. Christ, what am I commenting on now?
You're giving another negative or something you want to comment.
Oh, Jesus. What was the rest of my negatives? So it was a bad CGI. Didn't really care for Ezra's performance, which was weirdly praised. I don't understand the praise for Supergirl. What in the hell are people waffling about? She was like barely in the movie. What in the world? I don't understand people like there's been people like freaking out about her Supergirl, being like, oh my god, she was fantastic. I can't wait to see her again. I hope I see her multiple times again. I hope there's like solo movies. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, she was okay. I'm not saying she was like horrible.
I was about to ask, are you saying she's bad?
I thought she was like just okay, forgettable, passable. Like she was like what?
So, okay,
I don't understand people that were just mind fucked, huh?
Do you think she wasn't in it long enough for you to gravitate towards her? Or are you saying that... Because, I mean, we've seen other movies where characters have been there less than 2 minutes or some change, and they pull off, like, a memorable character that you'd want to see more of. You know what I'm saying?
There was nothing memorable about what she did in this movie.
Let's use... I shouldn't use Across the Spider-Verse, but let's use Spider-Punk. Spider-Punk was... in the movie, not quite a bit, but it was very memorable character, right?
Great. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say they have the same amount of screen time. So for you, it was kind of like she was okay, but she didn't. You could have taken her or leave it as far as her performance, or is that more
she was the greatest example of mediocre to forgettable that I could think of. Like, to me, she was just like okay, well, here's this random Supergirl, okay, and she's not really on the clock that much. There's nothing about the dialogue that she said that sticks out. There's nothing about her performance that sticks out. And the way that she died, I was just like, interesting. But
she died terribly.
I was like, damn, they just took her out of that. Took her out with some fucking pencil blade. That's
I think she died like about 10 times on screen, and probably more than that, because every time Barry tried to stop it, which was interesting because initially, if Barry hadn't went back, he would have progressively drawn closer to Iris, but he started actually having emotions towards Kara, and because of that, I think that's what started the loop, because, he became emotionally invested with her, and they would have never found her anyway if this hadn't happened. And so because of that, because of his love or like for her, he kept on trying to start it all over again. And it was like this pendulum where it kept on going back and forth between his mom and Kara. But yeah, I mean, I don't look at her as a negative at all. Like I actually liked her. But go ahead.
I did not. Yeah, no, I did not. But she didn't give me anything. She didn't give me anything. What am I supposed to be so moved by? What when they first rescue her, and she's like beating up guys in that whatever, some kind of like beige. I don't know what the hell she was wearing before she throws on the suit. Am I supposed to be wowed by that? Am I supposed to be wowed by when she's in this desert landscape where it feels like literally 98% of what I'm looking at is just purely the most unconvincing CGI I've seen in years? Like I'm struggling to think of like when she takes Barry and flies up to the sky and the lightning bolts hit and he finally gets his powers. Like, was I supposed to be moved to tears? Like, I'm trying to figure out which moment here where I was supposed to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see her in multiple movies. Like, oh yeah, I hope she gets a solo movie. Like, what were you guys talking about? And didn't get any of that from her scenes.
Yeah, sorry. I think that I'll comment on that. I liked her. I liked her because if you are, I guess if you're a Man of Steel fan, or if you know the Flashpoint series, Flashpoint, the actual comics, and as well as I think the animated incarnation, it was supposed to be a very thin Superman that was supposed to have been locked away, and they got him out. They played off of that idea and they used her instead. The interesting thing about Kara that's so different than Kal-El is that she doesn't give a flip. Like, she's not afraid to kill. Like, she generally has a strong issue with accepting humanity in general. So that's just her as a character. Like, as far as the MO of Supergirl,
sure,
that is her to a T. And that is what she's playing in this, which makes it fascinating because for her to gravitate towards a human like Barry or Barry's because of their compassion or their willingness to be hopeful or helpful, she starts to get out of her shell. And I think that's the intrigue by a lot of people, is that they saw I see the capability of where this character can go, because even down to the desert landscape, this is straight from Man of Steel. Like, it literally is just a trade for trade. I think
it was done It was done better in Man of Steel.
Yeah, well, it's different though.
And Man of Steel is fucking awesome, by the way.
It is a great movie. I love Man of Steel. That's not a debate.
We about to make this evil. We about to make this evil come out, boy. Them desert scenes were so bad. I got other negatives to say about the movie. Maybe not many, but I do have some other negatives. But that desert scene.
So
come
on. Like, the moment that she shows up to Zod in there, this is the weird thing I'll say about this. Her CG to me, being used, I don't feel like any of the time that her costume came off CG, which was weird. Like, her costume the whole entire time and her interaction with different things didn't look as noticeable as Barry's. I actually felt like a lot of her scenes worked a lot better than Barry's or anybody else's. I think that a lot of the set pieces they kind of used her from a CG standpoint worked, and it gave homage to Man of Steel, which is why I say that this film tries to pay homage to what has been past and present as far as the DC universe. And I think that she's just another amalgam of that. But the other thing about this for her is the moment that she was asking about Kal-El, and she was telling, I think, Barry's where she kind of comes from, that she's his cousin, and she was looking forward to seeing where he might be. And then the moment that she realizes that Zod freaking killed him and just goes off, I was like, okay, yeah, this is completely different, because, we've seen, Kal-El and what he's not willing to do. She's the complete opposite. She's wanting to kill this man, by any means necessary. She's trying her best. The issue is that, unlike Kal-El, who's had 33 years, to hone and adapt, she's been literally drained of any kind of sunlight altogether. So I think that the one thing that I'll say is a negative and positive about her, she was never gonna win that fight. The reason why I accepted the way that the outcome happened is that this world was doomed to freaking fail. They absolutely needed Superman here in this fight, and that once that got removed, it never was gonna happen. It was never any hope in this. It kind of leads into the Michael Keaton side of like letting them know like there's no saving this world, but you saved me. So for me, I didn't have any issue with her. I actually enjoyed her. I would love to see more of her. I didn't get enough to see kind of where her character or story could go. Whether they're gonna recast her or not, I don't know. I actually would love to see
she's
more.
gonna be recast, my nigga.
I would love to see
if I'm wrong, I'll chastise myself somehow. But oh fuck. But yeah, no, she ain't coming back, my nigga.
Yeah.
No, sorry, ma'am. And was Ezra Miller? No. Well, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Why? I don't know why the fuck somebody after watching this movie tank, which this movie is tanking harder at the box office than Black Adam. It is a full scale disaster. It's not me exaggerating. That's not me being mean. It's a full scale disaster. This bad boy is crashing and burning as if quite literally no one gives a fuck, because apparently no one does give a fuck.
I was gonna say, like, we can both be real here. DC doesn't care. They like, I think if they could have afforded it, they probably would have just canned it and moved forward. Like, because
that's what they should have did.
Because they didn't market this like they would normally do it, which is the reason why I think even the budget stayed down. I can't remember if Andy said or spoke on the budget constraints based on the new regime, but they did say like a lot of stuff was pulled out, a lot of stuff was changed, because the very ending initially had Henry Cavill back in it. I think that Gal Gadot was at the very end of it. Ben Affleck was in the end of it, and they had to pull all that joint. And I think I can't remember. It was like in April they shot the scene with George Clooney.
Bro, you know the budget is like $220 million.
Yeah,
that's out to crash and burn that hard.
I mean, but that's not that much though, dude. That's not that much.
What do you mean it's not that
like
much?
This, that's not that much.
200 million is not that much?
That's not that much for a superhero film?
How's that not that much?
That's not that much, dude. That's not that much. I'll go through real quick.
220 million is a lot, bro, for a budget?
For a big movie like this, no.
What do you consider to be a lot?
A lot.
Because
300 would be a lot. Like
how many superhero films? How many superhero films have a budget of 300 million?
MCU.
Correct. 300.
Bro,
million?
Thor 4 was 250 or 260 alone.
That ain't 300 though. Shit.
But I'm saying that's Thor 4. Like,
sure.
Most of the big,
I mean, it's still a lot of money. Don't get
most
twisted,
of the big events, like Marvel films, are up to between 250 or 300 or even more. Matter of fact, let me do this.
220 is a lot, though. Lord have mercy.
It's for a Flash film that's got Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, Gal Gadot. Like, it's supposed to be a Justice League level film. Heck, nah, we're not gonna go down that route, because I was.
Listen.
Not gonna go down that route.
Thank God it wasn't bigger.
We're gonna go down that route.
Thankfully, the budget wasn't bigger. Because to say that people ignored this film is one of the most astonishing understatements in cinema history.
Yeah, I can definitely agree to disagree.
I do think that 220 is still a lot though. This ain't some like this ain't some baby budget over here.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
obviously 260 is bigger, but Lord have mercy, 220.
But yeah, one of my positives that I wanted to kind of pull up was the callbacks, man. And I don't just mean callbacks as in 1989 Batman, which that is a huge one. Oh my God.
Yeah, I've been waiting to talk about this. We haven't even talked about Keaton's Batman yet. I have a lot.
I am so much of a big Batman 1989, 1992 Batman Returns fan. You guys just don't know. Technically, the first movie I've ever seen was Batman 1989. I learned so much about film from that Tim Burton film, and I can't say that I'm not biased. I can't sit there and say I'm not. I loved every single moment of watching Michael Keaton as Batman go ham. Like when any action scene that he was in, bruh, he was throwing hands. Like even the aerial fight with the actual Batcopter, like some of those callbacks and some of that was so dope. Like it was weird because when the young Barry had the little bag the first time, I was like, is that the Joker's bag that he left over from dying? And and I was like, I can't believe they added this in. But the other thing about callbacks is not just 1989 Batman. If you look at Bruce Wayne, when you first see him and he's kind of painting and he's got the scarf around his neck, that's a callback to Adam West's Batman. If you go to the actual Batcave, the actual circle around before they leave out, that's a callback to Christian Bale's Batman. The thing I loved about this, they gave an actual rationale to this, and I'll go into the whole spaghetti theory stuff, but long story short is that that version of Batman was an amalgam of different versions, and that's why, one, he fights different, two, why Gotham City has ended, and three, why there's a superhero element there that definitely would never have been shown before. So they merged all those together within this one Batman, which I found so fascinating. And oh my gosh. So, and I know this is going to be negatives for you, which is fine, but the callbacks for the certain Supermen, one in particular that, God rest his soul, John Schnepp would probably be crying, regardless of what you feel, what you look like. With it, Nicolas Cage in the spider sequence as Superman, we would have never gotten this. But on film, we actually did get it. And everybody that was a geek or nerd, the few screenings I saw, they were flipping out. They could care less how on par it looked like Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage, I can't remember if I read this right, that he did go and do motion capture for it. I don't believe that, but just seeing it, that callback was so important to me. I loved it. When the worlds were literally starting to collide, some people were like watching this movie again just so they could see. Like you saw like a random version of Jay Garrett that was with the Adam West universe. You saw George Reeves universe. Of course, you saw Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater's version of Supergirl, Superman. The reason why I don't have an issue with it, and I don't think it's distasteful in my personal perspective, is because what everybody always wanted to see is to have her, Supergirl, be in the same movie with Superman of Christopher Reeves. And we finally actually got it, which is why I said in my statement on Twitter is that some people have waited their whole lives to see some of these segmented moments that happen in this movie, regardless of the delivery, regardless of how you perceive the film as a whole. Some of these movie moments in this are epic callbacks that you always wanted to see. I mean, I did like that they had from Man of Steel, they had Feora came back. Of course, they had my man Michael Shannon come back as Zod. And I mean, you already talked about it, like Bruce Wayne, as in Ben Affleck's version of Bruce Wayne, and Gal Gadot back as Wonder Woman. I love those scenes, man. Like all the callbacks in this are, to me, synonymous with what DC is supposed to be about. And I just love that they didn't hold back anything. A lot of times when this happens, you kind of are like in a TV show or you're in a big budget film and you would like, man, I would love to see this character, or I'd love to see this. Like, we got it all, regardless of kind of what you perceive as far as how that worked within the confines of the story. I think it worked just fine because it's a merging or colliding of worlds, which means that when these worlds actually do collide, no pun intended, we're going to get something completely different. But I think that they gave enough homage and callbacks that I, as a DC fan, all of those specific moments meant something to me. I could care less about how good they looked. It was the fact that we actually got to get them, and these probably would have never happened in this way. So I have to give my flowers to Andy for even attempting to do half of these. But yeah, all the callbacks for me, I truly adored. And every time I watch the movie, like I'm like, man, this is so dope. It's so dope to actually witness.
Okay. So yeah, again, when we see the secondary, everything from there to the end credits, I feel like the movie bottoms out. It just it is really atrocious to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. These callback moments that you're talking about. Well, I guess I'll just focus on in the third act, like when we see Nicolas Cage's Superman, we see Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Wait, that one real quick, because I wanted to ask you this, but I wanted to wait for this stream. You, how do you feel about that? Like you watched the documentary from Noah Schnapp, and you know all the background behind it. I think with Nicolas Cage.
Are you the Nicolas Cage Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie aside, yeah, the Nicolas Cage Superman is, at least to me, is very fascinating. I wish I wish there had been some kind of. I wish the movie had existed. I think it would have been very, very intriguing. Yeah.
So with that scene, did it not bring a smile to your face? Like you could care less about it, or what do you feel about it? That's a better question.
Lord have mercy. But yeah, this scene was so bad. I can't even. Let's just pretend, because obviously visually it did not work for me in any way, shape, or form. Lord have mercy. I've seen better CGI in video games, but let's say that like it's the same scene, but the visuals are like 11 out of 10. Okay, I think I would have been mildly interested in what I was seeing, but the issue is that I'm a story-driven person. You know, like when I review films, I just review them as films. I don't do a lot of things that you and Lucas do, where you like make all these subcategories, and it's like, well, I'm judging this movie in this sort of way, or I'm sort of judging this as like a comic book movie or a superhero. I don't do that. I just judge film. They're all judged the same way. Documentary, live action, animation, whatever. I judge them all the same way. Is this a worthy piece of cinema? This was not. This Nicolas Cage sequence that you're talking about, even if the effects were far greater, it still would not have ultimately worked because I'm a story person. The story doesn't work for me as a whole. The story is extremely flawed and broken, in my opinion. So even if the effects were better, the story beforehand, it didn't help warrant this moment. It's like, that's interesting, but like, this is just, I mean, ultimately it's just some random scene that's supposed to make fans be like, and that was a clear, at least with this story, just wasn't going to happen with me with this Nicolas Cage moment. It just, again, it could have been more interesting, better effects, but there's no way I'm walking away like, like, oh my god, now I gotta get the movie like a 9 out of 10. Like, no, like, I need a great story. This was not a great story, in my opinion. This was not some innovative story, some influential story. This was not some great story. There's like plenty of time travels, similar style time travel stories that are better than this. Because in a weird way, it is like a time travel story paradox in a way.
Yeah, there's Michael J. Fox like throughout. There's a lot of time travel references.
the story couldn't work. So as fan servicey as this moment is, that, you know, and then the Lord have mercy, because I even ironically rewatched the was it 1978? Was that Christopher Reeve's Superman? Was that 78 or 70 something? But I rewatched Christopher Reeve's Superman recently, and I forgot how much I loved that movie. I'm in love with Richard Donner's Superman. It is a really beautiful film, a true masterpiece in my opinion. I love that movie. I literally forgot how much I loved that movie, and the way that they brought back Christopher Reeve's Superman just felt wrong in my opinion. I did not dig it at all visually. It was just so lackluster. So uncanny valley, which is most of the bad CGI in this movie. I don't know. It just felt.
So for you,
I don't know. It kind of just gave me the willies. It just felt distasteful. I was just like, "What are you guys doing?" It sort of reminded me of they did a similar weird bullshit with Tarkin in what was that, Rogue One, I think.
Yeah, and you felt that way about Luke as well. All right. You felt that way about
I'm not with
Luke.
Unless your name is James Cameron, I'm not with these CGI faces. Come on, guys. If you're not spending enough time rendering, to stop. What are y'all trying to do with these CGI faces? We're not there yet. Jesus Christ. And the Christopher Reeve thing, it really felt very distasteful to me. Like, why? Why? Just to make people fanboy out? Like, that's so ridiculous to me. The man's gone. That just, it feels
It's a multiverse movie. Like, it's a multiverse.
Okay, you could have done anything, right? Could have done anything, right?
Okay,
correct?
so why wouldn't you bring back the most iconic version of Superman?
I would never in life. I don't care that it's Flashpoint or multiverse. I would never in life think, oh yeah, what's something that I think is something that's needed. Oh yeah, bringing back dead Christopher Reeves with these bland effects in this movie. What? No, I would have never done that. Especially when what. First off, I would have never thought of any of this bullshit for a first Flash movie. What? No. Lord help me. But yeah, it didn't work for me. It did not work for me.
Okay, so that's a good segue because I did have a question. Because another movie did a similar thing. And I think this movie you gave it a 9 out of 10. I may be wrong. Keep me honest. And I'm talking about Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange did not exactly the same thing, but they did.
Doctor Strange did not have anything equivalent to this Christopher Reeve moment. I just got to
I disagree. Because
with what? With what moment?
Stewart rolling his tail up in there just for his mind to get blown out.
How is that comparable to bringing back dead Christopher Reeves with
no.
effects?
We're talking about callbacks. We're talking about bringing people back from different years. Because is it necessary? Is it something that they needed to do within a second Doctor Strange movie that is both of these films technically are multiverse based, right? And with this moment right here, everybody was like, oh, wow, seeing the trailers, like, oh, they're bringing the Illuminati back. I wonder if they're going to bring Patrick Stewart back. They bring Patrick Stewart back. Even if we don't talk about the Christopher Reeve side of this, and we just focus in on Nicolas Cage, what's the difference in the Nicolas Cage moment and this right here? Like, why did this work and didn't come off weird, cringe, unnecessary, but these other callbacks did? So I'm just curious because you can go and say whether or not, like, okay, that's a completely different perspective and this movie, better story, if that's how you believe. I personally don't feel that way about Doctor Strange at all. I feel like from a multiverse standpoint, the pinnacle is absolutely the Spider-Verse films as far as multiverse. I think they've done it the best. I actually put The Flash above this movie from a multiverse standpoint. Like, this didn't give me multiverse, and it's literally in the title, Multiverse of Madness. And they brought these characters back and they just ended them. There was nothing multiverse about Doctor Strange 2. And I felt like, as far as the story, it didn't give me anything. I thought it was very forgettable. But again, like it's going back to with you rated this as a 9 out of 10, which is pretty high for you. Normally, you don't give Marvel movies that high a rating. But I'm trying to comprehend this movie, The Flash, and then your perspective on this. Like, I'm sort of beside myself with the understanding because both are kind of trying to do the same. I don't think that Doctor Strange has that good of a story at all to merit any of this. And the moments that happen in this where are eye-catching, I thought were really interesting, but they don't add to anything. They don't amount to anything. And I don't think I'd ever see this movie again. I don't think I have seen it since it was in the theater. So I just wanted your comments on that.
Okay, so this specific scene in particular, its relation to the story is far better than Christopher Reeves showing up in the Flash relationship. And compared to the rest of the Flash story, like the scene, that specific scene, like at least in my opinion, I enjoyed the film. That specific scene, there were comedic bits there that I thought worked. This whole sort of like battle, and then like they're ultimately all like taken out, and almost in like a Sam Raimi horror film type way. I thought that was very darkly hilarious and subversive, and I thought it was fun. It was way more enjoyable and came across way more sensibly. Like you mentioned, Xavier being in the film. In anything that happened in that Doctor Strange 2 movie, narratively, came across way more sensibly than Christopher Reeves randomly showing up at the end of a first Flash movie, or this Nicolas Cage Superman movie, seeing like a glimpse of that slapped at the end of the Flash movie, which you would only know if fucking, and that almost doesn't even matter. But yeah, only hardened nerds even know about this Nicolas Cage Superman thing. But I'm sure literally most audiences, which isn't worth saying because most literally did not go see the movie. But if they did, most of them, when they had seen the fucking Nicolas Cage Superman movie, just would have been like, huh? Like, it's just like a blank
what's
look.
What's the difference in this and Agent Carter as Captain America, dude?
What do you mean? What's the difference?
Who would know that Agent Carter is a Captain America if they hadn't seen what I'm saying, if you're a general audience person, you don't know that this ninja, John Krasinski, was initially, connected to Fantastic Four. They didn't know that this girl right here that plays Agent Carter in What If, showed in that as Captain America. Like,
yeah, but wait, pause, super pause. Haley Atwell's character, though, even though she's remixed here and then What If, whatever her fucking character isn't she like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and wasn't she like the chick that was Steve Rogers? Wasn't that wasn't that the chick that he was pining after, like an Endgame?
Right.
Wasn't that the same chick that?
Who would know that she was gonna be Captain America? That's what I'm saying. Like, they know the face, but they don't know who the heck she is. And as far as like the dude that plays I can't remember the name. God, so forgettable. Black Adam? Not Black Adam. What is
the dude, like when he talks, shit explodes.
Yeah, like this is the same dude that was in the show that failed, which is the Inhumans, right? Yeah. Same actor, same as that dude. He got the official comic book accurate suit, which is cool. But that's a deep cut, bro. Like, nobody knows that. So I don't. That kind of negates what you're saying.
All I'm trying to tell you is that this specific scene that you're talking about here, it was just entertaining. Even outside of myself, every screening that I went to, because I saw it a few times in theaters. Every screening I went to, the audience like literally audibly reacted to the scene, whether it was like them laughing at like the dark humored way that like all these niggas are being like taken the fuck out, like Reed Richards being stretched out like spaghetti, and what's the black like Adam and Adam Bomb? I forgot what this nigga's name is, but the dude where if he speaks, if
Black
he whispers,
Bolt.
Black Bolt.
Thank you, Rona.
Thank you, someone. But I don't care about this bullshit anymore. But yeah, no. Like when he dies, like his mouth gets smoothed over and he goes to speak, and like his head explodes. Like it was just a more entertaining sequence, Like seeing like Professor Xavier, like again, like who gives a fuck? You know how many times this nigga showed up? Just in general, if you're paying attention, like who gives a fuck? This Haley Atwell's character, she saw a remix here, and not many people would know this specific version of her. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, the scene was entertaining, or it was more so entertaining than Christopher, digitally cloned Christopher Reeve showing up, or Nicolas Cage's Superman. Which I guess is cool if you're just like a deep nerd, but
right.
It's not as entertaining.
Yeah, because I didn't
think
the thing about the Doctor Strange movie that threw me off from the beginning of that movie is that we had WandaVision happen, and Wanda got a full understanding of what was going on. She lost Vision. Okay, she's going one way, and then she's a completely different way in this film. Then it just goes from there, and I did not like the story of that at all. It didn't make any sense to me, but we're not debating that here.
No, we are not.
We're gonna leave that alone.
And again, just to circle back. Who cares of my thoughts of Doctor Strange? The Christopher Reeve thing I thought was dumb and kind of distasteful. It wasn't needed. I didn't find it sensible. Didn't find it entertaining. I wasn't mind blown about it. I didn't feel a sense to call you or somebody and be like, oh my god, like that did not happen. The Nicolas Cage thing, I've always wanted to see the Nicolas Cage Superman, but like this is like the worst plausible way you could have gone about it. Again, even if it had like 10 out of 10 effects, if you will, still, like it just feels so nonsensical in relation to the story. It literally just feels like they were like what's something else that could keep people watching to the end credits? Oh yeah, let's just slap this on here. Yeah, let's just slap on Adam West Batman. What else we got? Christian Bale keeps saying no. Well, fuck. Let's just pull in George Clooney. Like, it just feels very, they're just trying to throw whatever at the wall that, hopefully it sticks. That's how it came across.
Yeah, I will say this, and this is kind of a hot take, and this is going against the grain, technically, for me. I will say that I think that the Flash himself, I will agree with you that the Flash in Zack Snyder's Justice League and how they utilized his powers, how he looked, his action sequences, his CG, it was top notch. I really feel like they had some of the best Flash moments that we've ever seen. I guess possibly we'll ever see, because I don't know when things are going to progress any further with Ezra or any Flash at all. But just certain scenes, man, like captivated me from Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, and some of those were night shots and he still made them work. This scene with Iris right here, where he's explaining that he has to be very careful with how he maneuvers people around, or he could like literally destroy them. Which that's why the baby scene didn't have that much of an issue with me, because I'm not gonna lie to you, Dro. If them babies actually look real, like real, I think that if I was the person on the editing room floor and they were like, "Hey, how do you think the audience is gonna feel about like him maneuvering around these lifelike looking babies?" I think they would have just cut the whole scene out altogether. Maybe they should have, but because they weren't looking like actual babies, I was cracking up. I didn't have that much of an issue, but I'm bringing that into account because of this scene right here where he's so careful with Iris. And he just came out, like ran out of his shoes. The gravel was moving with him. every single.
My nigga, let me tell you something. Anybody who disagrees, you can suck this dick. The Snyder Cut is fantastic. I don't give a fuck. The Snyder Cut fucking bangs. I should throw that bitch on next weekend, okay? The Snyder Cut is The Snyder Cut is awesome. Okay? Listen, I don't give a fuck about these psychotic super fans. The Snyder Cut fucking bangs. Shout out to my nigga Zack Snyder. Boy, the fuck this Flash movie. He should have got a chance. He should have got a chance to finish his vision. Those dirty cops. No. There's some dude, Warrior fella. There's some dude in the comments section. He said something about no more N-bombs or something. Shut up, nigga. Okay. The Snyder Cut bangs. He should have been able to finish his vision. I don't know why they allowed this trash movie to be made. How could they do this to my brother, Zach? I don't even think I'm a fan. I don't even think I'm a fan of this nigga. He's definitely made a lot of things that I really like or enjoy. But the Snyder Cut was so good, it's a disgrace he didn't get the finish. Okay, and I can't wait to see whatever the fuck it is, Rebel Moon or some bullshit. I don't even give a fuck what it's called, my nigga. I'm there day one.
Oh man. Okay. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so yeah, like this scene right here, where like there's a whole bunch of rubble that's falling on some civilians, and the Flash is moving so quickly above them, it looks like a thundercloud. Like stuff like that. Like there are shots that you can literally pause the screen, and like it's art. And that's one thing I always give Zach credit for is he can make something look gorgeous. And there are scenes. This is weird to say that the Batman scenes, whether they're Ben Affleck, whether they're Michael Keaton, like bang, like they're actually freaking dope. The scenes with even Supergirl, I think that they look like there's a scene where I think Supergirl is like picking up like a steel rod and just kind of like walking with it, and she just like knocks like Zog into the back of a ship. Like that hit really well. But like all the things that Barry was doing with his powers, like the focus and the actual delivery of it, like the issue is not as crowd pleasing as the way that it's been done before with Zach in a movie that technically didn't come out. It's weird to say, because it's like when the Flash like makes a tornado with his abilities, or when he kind of understands how to like use the currents to push it. I was like, man, if this looked a little bit more sharper, bro, like some of this, like people would never forget it. So again, I'm bringing this in to this conversation because I'm not in the game of proving Jor-El wrong. I'm not in the game of proving anybody right. I just want to talk about the film because I do think that this merits a rewatch. I do think that there are good things about this film, and I do think it's very entertaining. But I think that certain things could have been tightened, that this could have been a well-oiled machine from beginning to end. But I do think that the scenes with Michael Keaton, bro, I mean, you hadn't talked about it yet, but bro, when he came down on them cats in the Russian facility and he was going ham, like I was like, this man is 70-something years old. Like I kind of was like, I really wish they had just made the Batman Beyond movie, because if he's maneuvering around and okay with going this route, I would have loved to see him in that. And I don't know if you read the Kevin Smith or heard his podcast. If this movie would have done as good or just as good as the Batman, I think that they were actually considering Batman Beyond. They were actually moving forward with Michael Keaton as being Batman Beyond. I don't know who they would have gotten for Terry McGinnis, but at this point, like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
That ain't happening.
But that would have. I've always wanted to see that. I think the only good thing that I can say, because this wasn't our 1989 Batman, and this is an amalgam of different Batman, if they wanted to just do it, regardless of the money, they could. But But yeah, I like some of my positives were definitely all of his action moments. Like it was just dope. And that may be the nostalgia in me, but like seeing him actually being able to, one, turn his head to actually fight, but two, like, they gave Michael Keaton his flowers in this movie to me. They really did. I think we're on the last one of this. Go ahead.
So the Michael, the Michael Keaton Batman stuff did not work for me. I loved Keaton's Batman, but in this movie, it's just I guess the best way I can describe him in this movie is it's just a hot mess. Like when we first meet Michael Keaton's Batman, and like he's jumping over the table, and he's got this like long hair and this beard, and like I think he's trying to attack the two barriers with like a mop or some bullshit. But it literally just felt like a bad version of, you know, Robin Williams first emerging, having been inside the game in Jumanji. Yeah, it's literally what it reminded me of, like a really bad version of that. I was like, what are we doing here? And these action sequences that you're talking about, I really was not with it, seeing Michael Keaton's Batman and full-blown daytime, or in this like this like clearly CGI desert. I really was not with that. Most of his action sequences, which most of it is, it's sort of a digital Keaton, not actual Keaton. It just took me out of the movie. His action sequence, like for example, like when he's in that, whatever that bat plane is called, and there's this giant dude who's like on the plane, like trying to get to him, and like there's something with Batman, he's like rotating inside the plane, some bullshit like that. Or even when they're on the ground, and you know, he's like Batman's trying to attack this guy on the ground in the desert. It just didn't work for me. I mean, maybe if the CGI was more competent, I guess maybe I could say it was interesting. But even then, I don't know that I would have been like, woo, like drooling on myself. It still, I don't know. It's just awkward seeing them in broad daylight. The action sequences were just kind of awkward to me.
Wait, hold on.
Didn't do much for me.
You said that the action. So when he was in the Russian facility, right? One of the bears, I guess, had gotten shot or something.
Yeah, he gets shot in the leg.
Flew down and started to work them dudes and using batarang. You thought it was bad? Yeah,
pretty much. Or mid, didn't really do much for me. Like when the Flash gets like shot through the leg, and like people start shooting, and I think Batman like stands in front and like he throws up his fucking cape and like blocks the bullets, you know. Or he like Batman does something where they like fall down. But either way, yeah, it was mid to bad to me. It didn't really. Most of the scenes that I liked. God, that one scene was so cringy when he was like, "All right," he said something like, let's get nuts, you know, and I was like, oh God, this is not the way. But I think the only scene, like just the scenes that I enjoyed with Keaton is like when he like literally was just like speaking, no action sequence, no CGI fest. Any sequences where like he was just having like a normal conversation, like when he was talking to Barry, about his own past, about his own parents, and his opinions on the time travel thing. Like, stuff like that was interesting. But yeah, like the action sequence stuff, didn't care for. Yeah, I feel differently there. Yeah. A lot of moments when he was in the bat suit, didn't care like you did. But some of these quiet moments of dialogue was super fleeting. Like, that stuff was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like what I'm hearing is that the CGI took you out of this film. Because I
Yeah,
I was never
the
gonna believe
story
old man.
story as well.
Well, I mean, but what I'm saying, just what you're describing with just Batman, just using Batman, Keaton's Batman, and like him moving around, like I don't know, this is a superhero movie. Like he's gonna be fighting around, he's gonna be maneuvering around using
Of
batarangs.
course,
So it's like
of course,
the expectation is gonna be that. But
of
it
course.
sounds like, I mean, it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with the focus of the story. It seems like you're taken out from just the believability of the way the CGI and the action sequences were executed. That's what it sounds like. What you're saying.
Yeah, that definitely took me out, and just his usage in the story as well. I mean, it's nothing. Not as I get my socks blown off here. So yeah, whether we're talking about his character from a story execution way, or if we're talking about the CGI or how they represent it visually, none of that really. None of it worked. It just didn't work for me. I didn't think it was great. Great, masterful, masterpiece worthy.
Well,
calling one of my mates and be like, "Oh my God, you will not believe this Michael Keaton Batman scene." Like, no,
yeah, but
there's nothing like that.
I think it's a question of whether or not I'm not saying is it great. I'm saying is it bad. That's the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I just wanted to clarify that because for me, it's like one.
But why? It's a mixture of bad and mid, to be super specific.
Yeah, because his when they when they said that his Batman was coming into this, I personally, before the movie started, questioned like, how's that going to work? He's 70 something years old. So I didn't know how that was going to work. So this, for me, from an expectation standpoint, I never thought that they were going to even let him be that versatile from a physicality standpoint. From any of the action moments that happened, I never thought any of that was going to happen. So my expectations were, he's not going to get any of this. Like, he's just going to be, point, shoot, telling people what to do, and he's going to, stop. So for me, it was very entertaining. I actually loved seeing him actually be able to fight because, seeing him in 1989 and even in 92, like I loved him, but I wanted to see him like go at it. And so they finally did give that to me. So for me, it was gratifying, but yeah, I think that this is gonna kind of try to wrap it up at this point, because at this point now, like I've already kind of stated that I had a very entertaining ride by this. Some people are saying that they really like Ben Affleck's scenes. I did like Ben Affleck's scenes. I thought that chase scene was actually freaking dope. I do agree with you. Seeing it in the daytime was very interesting. Him having that plated armor, and actually, I think it was blue. His cowl looked blue, like the classic, like comics version of him. He always had like a blue silhouette as opposed to black. I thought it was a really interesting choice for that.
Bizarrely, the usage of the Ben Affleck Batman was better than Michael Keaton's Batman, which is so insane. But I enjoyed the Batfleck sequences tremendously better than the Michael Keaton Batman sequences.
That's an interesting perspective, Simon. Do you agree with this, Jor-El, that Ben Affleck and Ezra have better chemistry than Michael Keaton and Ezra?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really. I don't know.
They both had some really interesting scenes. Like the scene that he had with Keaton and talking about like him in the past, and even when Keaton was dying. I mean, I thought it worked, but it was weird. Like there is something about without the cowls on, like. I don't know. It's
better chemistry. I don't know. It really doesn't matter for me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really see Ezra having better chemistry with one than the other, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is good. We've gone 2 hours and 4 minutes, and this is probably the most we both will ever talk about this film, unless I do a spoiler.
Yeah, please get this movie away from me.
But yeah, any closing thoughts or questions for me, and then I'll do the same for you in closing out.
Just closing thoughts. Yeah, the back half of this movie is really bad. Like what's her name? Shit, I hit the mute button. What's her name? Feora or something? Some shit. But like seeing like General Zod again and that one chick from
Feora. Yeah,
from Man of Steel. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Nothing standoutish about it. Nothing. There's that one evil Flash that was all rocky and shit. I was just.
Are you talking about Savitar?
Sure. I was like, what is this? Who is this dumb looking ass nigga? Or like the younger Flash just going fucking dumb in the third act. Like, no, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Let me just run back into the past for the 18th time. Stop. That third act was. I thought it was really bad. I did. Here's another positive. Hilariously, I like the end credits. I thought the end credits were like super interesting. That was so bizarre with that dog falling in slow motion and then I guess the Flash inevitably like catches him before the end credits roll out. I actually liked that. That was fun.
Yeah, because when the beginning of the movie was happening with the babies, like he saw the dog like midway when he was losing energy, and so we never saw how he caught the dog or what happened to the dog in mid-flight. So the dog was still falling, in the beginning of the movie, and then we're seeing from the dog's perspective what's going on.
Yeah, I trying to squeeze out all the positives I can, but yeah, I think that might literally be the last positive I can give you. Is that oddly I liked the end credits, and I sat through it both times because it just tickled me. But I thought the third act was just so cliched, especially from a time travel angle. It was just poorly acted, visually lackluster. Story was extremely familiar / underwhelming.
Who was poorly acted, by the way? Who do you say had a bad performance?
Ezra Miller, a bad performance.
Yeah, you said poorly acted. So
I thought Ezra Miller's performance was poor. I thought that Michael Keaton's performance was pretty so-so. The chick who played Supergirl, I thought her performance was extremely mediocre. I don't know. Iris West was so-so. Like that weird friend group that like when the Flash was talking to Iris, and that friend group was like kind of poking fun at him, and he was like, "Guys, like all of them were bad."
Yeah.
Most of the performances I thought was pretty so mid, whatever, forgettable. Like General Zod, Michael. There's another thing. This movie was so piss poor. I forgot that Michael Shannon was a boss in Man of Steel. He was a fucking absolute don in Man of Steel. That one chick, Feora, whatever the fuck, as fleetingly as she was used in Man of Steel, I thought she was fucking awesome in Man of Steel. Like stand-outish awesome. None of that was here.
I mean, would you say
most of that
was screen time to do that though in this narrative?
It doesn't matter. What we got was just very so-so to me, acting wise. Like for the most part, it was very just like.
So
shit, I was more moved by the fucking mother and Russell Crowe from fucking Man of Steel's performances than whatever the fuck the most of whatever happened in this movie. Right?
Yeah. So okay, let's take I don't know. Let's take Transformers. I think you gave it like a 6 out of 10 or something like that.
Which one?
The last one that just came out.
Oh yeah, I think I get the 1-6. Sure.
Yeah. So with Transformers, how is the acting in that in comparison to this?
How was it?
Yeah, in comparison to this.
Better.
Wait, you're saying the acting in Transformers, whatever the Beast movie is, was better than this movie?
100%. I thought that particularly shit. Actually, you're gonna have to give me a second because I don't remember any character.
It's Daniel
names.
Fishback and it's Anthony Ramos.
I'm just gonna bring it up. There's no way I'm going off memory. Sorry, I didn't think I was ever gonna think about that movie again. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Dominic Fishback and Anthony Ramos, Noah and Elena. Yeah, I thought they were 10,000 times more interesting from a performance standpoint than anything going on in this movie. You bet.
Wow.
For sure.
Hey.
As a matter of fact, the human characters in that Transformers, ironically, are sounds so funny to say, but yeah, I thought the human characters in that Transformers movie was the most interesting human characters in any of the Transformers movies. Though I suppose there's a commendable nod that could be made to what was that, Bumblebee? Yeah, I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah, I actually, for context, just so somebody doesn't attack me, I actually enjoyed the Transformers movie. I think that I agree with Jor-Els.
Oh, the Bumblebee one?
No, the last Transformers movie that came out. I actually enjoyed that.
I almost did myself. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I almost liked it. I almost slapped it as good myself. Like I really loved the oddly, I really liked what they did with the human stuff. Bizarrely, the Transformer stuff I thought was completely flat. But the human stuff I thought was just interesting. It was just like innately relatable, particularly in the usage of Noah. Who I'm convinced that actor has to be the son of Terrence Howard. He just has to be. But yeah. Yeah,
so the reason why I brought that into this is that, like, the little brother, right, who's kind of like the focal point. Like, he's the heart and soul. Like, he's got his oldest brother's back. He's his brother's keeper. Mm-hmm. I actually enjoyed the humans in that movie more than any of the Transformers movies, which is really weird to say. But I look at the little brother no differently than Nora in this movie. Like, she's the focal point. Like, she's the heart and soul with the reason why Barry is doing any of this. So it's kind of like, I don't look at her performance as bad. Like, I wouldn't look at Ezra any different than kind of how Anthony Ramos is interacting with different characters. So
I don't know if I say that the mother's performance was bad. It was just very, like, it was alright, my nigga. Like, I'll forget about it in T-minus 16 weeks from now.
Yeah, because I think that there's something resonant with people with her character, because I don't want to be too sappy on this, but it's kind of like if you knew you had an opportunity of being able to see your mother again, let alone save her, but then have to choose to let her go again and having to say goodbye all over again willingly. I mean, we've all seen the Flash series for the most part, but I don't know. I think that she had a lot of tact with her performance, and I think that they had great chemistry before it. Like, I can never say that he acted badly in that scene or other scenes with her. So I don't know. I'm confused with that, but I'll leave that be.
I mean, again, the acting, and I really want to clarify this. Acting in The Flash it's ranges from bad, like like the part in the third act with The Flash where the Barry that we've come to know, he's talking to younger Barry, and he's like, listen, you gotta understand, you gotta stop running back into time, like you don't get it. And the other Barry's just like, no, you don't understand. I'm gonna fix things. And it's just like, and I'm not saying that's verbatim, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying that's how his acting was coming across. All right.
Yeah,
The acting is very bad, to so or mid in general. So like his mother's performance. Like I said before, like it was cute, it's adorable, but at the same time, like, and this ain't no. I'm gonna forget about it in a few weeks. I'm so glad that we did this debate today because I was like, Jesus Christ, bro, this movie's almost Control-Alt-Deleted from my brain. It's just so forgettable. But yeah, the acting in general in The Flash is a mixture of bad and just.
Yeah. I'm well, we're good on that. But I will say about the younger Flash being basically the Saboteur from the Flash series. Since I don't know if I'm gonna do a spoiler review on this, I will say that he went that trajectory. It was very fascinating how they went about it because basically he was stuck in a loop where he was continuously trying to save everyone, including his mom, because he overheard Barry talking about the mom, trying to save Supergirl, trying to save Batman, because he knew there's no way to stop it. That universe was doomed. And it technically is still on Barry because he did this. Like, he went to that universe and marked it for death. It's just really weird because it's kind of like, oh my God, what's Spider-Man 2099's name? Miguel. Miguel did the same exact thing. Miguel went, spoilers for people who hadn't seen Across the Spider-Verse, Miguel went to a random universe, thought that he could live out his life, and he literally destroyed that whole universe. So it was very similar to that, which in and of himself created not a Dark Flash, but the Saboteur character, which I think the CGI on that did not work. But I did love him slowly starting to descend into darkness, because one thing that I've not thought about until this film, and I don't know if you disagree or not, Jor-Els, is seeing Barry actually turn to a dark side. Imagine somebody that can go back in time, in and out of time, that can literally almost with a finger disintegrate you. Like, matter of fact, I think like they actually did that to one of the Kryptonians. Like, they actually did the phasing and like stopped one of the Kryptonians' heart. And then I think the younger, this dude's only 18 years old, and he got Fayora's knife and like sliced her throat and kept moving. And I was like, dog, if the Flash, much like Batman, if Batman was actually evil, or if Flash was actually evil, like the world would be doomed. And it's just fascinating to actually see it from that perspective. So I like that side of the younger Barry because he really was trying to do the right thing in his mind, but he was lost to it, and he, eventually sacrificed himself to kill himself. But yeah, for me, I thought the movie was very entertaining. Like, it gave me a lot of things that I wanted to see for years. I thought it was an entertaining superhero film, dude. I don't really know. Like, there was action. There was a lot of great callbacks. I mean, the sibling back and forth with the younger Barry and the older Barry, I think it's either going to work or it's not. I think that, truth be matter, either you were like, okay, I accept it, I'm cool with it, or if you don't, it'll take you out the whole movie, because they are literally the focus of the movie, the younger and the older versions of him. I did want to bring up the spaghetti strand, because I actually feel like either you got that or you didn't. We've had a lot of different scenarios when it comes to talk about time, but when Bruce was talking about the spaghetti strands, I was kind of like, all right, let me listen to what this man's actually saying. He's basically saying that if you go back in the past, you're now putting yourself on an alternative timeline. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't think about it. Like, I looked at it as a ripple effect, like you change the past and then it's going to affect your future. But no, like, you going back at all is a consequence to the past and the present and the future. And I thought that concept was very fascinating, because then you actually do a multiverse situation. Every small little pivot is a ripple effect. The only thing I didn't like, which is a con, is that Barry went and did something anyway. And it didn't seem like he accepted the consequence of his action. Like, he's sitting there looking at another Bruce there. If I was Barry, I'd been like, freak, what did I do? like, how do I stop this? And then you end it. But it didn't seem like he really took responsibility for another action he just caused. But I did love the spaghetti explanation. I love the Michael Keaton's explanation for it. I think that delivery was actually pretty natural. I thought it was really comedic, but they explained it in a way that I was like, okay, I can understand this versus kind of how they try to do it with like MCU and Endgame. But I that was the first time I was like, oh, okay, I really like this. But yeah, as far as the film, I was very entertained by it. I can't remember what I rated it, but I would absolutely watch this again. I think it's very entertaining. I can't wait to let my wife watch it. She hasn't seen it yet. But
you don't remember what you rated it?
Yeah, I thought I put it as an 8.5 or 8 out of 10. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and check again. Because I can't remember what I originally rated it.
By the way, if you see me looking around crazy, there is like a fucking hail spawn fucking thunderstorm setting in right now. Like, what in the world? There's like a fucking monsoon going on outside, and my buddy's screaming, killing someone on either Overwatch and Call of Duty. So something's brewing out there.
Yeah, stay straight out in the streets, man. We had a really bad thunderstorm out here as well earlier today. Me and my son were caught up in it. But yeah, dude, I think that this was dope. Thanks for picking my brain. Thanks for talking around it. Were you guys entertained? Let us know in the comment section below. Did you guys enjoy our back and forth for the past 2 hours and 20 minutes? If you did, make sure you go into the description bar below and go and subscribe to Jor-Els' channel right now. All 10 of you guys that are here, please go and check out his content. He's already got his own individual review for The Flash. I think I've already got mine. We just never talked about it in a spoiler capacity until right now. So yeah, we're going to be going and doing Spider-Verse next Saturday. Next Saturday. So stay tuned for that. Got some really big names coming to that one. I haven't even told Jor-El about that. But yeah, let us know if you enjoyed this discussion. Let us know in the comment section. Do y'all have any questions for us? Do you have any comments? Jor-El, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I was just about to say a few minutes ago, I was like, despite me like ruthlessly hating this disgusting, godless movie, okay, which I gave a 3 out of 10, lest ye forget. 3 out of 10, godless, okay? It really deserves a 2 out of 10. This movie was horrible, but Across the Spider-Verse, absolutely loved it. Completely night and day situation. Like, I can't stop raving about Across the Spider-Verse. I got a new short that I'm working on that's going to be completely insane about it. And then I'm going to do a long form, just my own thing talking about the movie. I completely obsessed with Across the Spider-Verse. The true artistry, which is not this movie.
Look, I'll say this on record. We can agree to that. I would never put this in the same wheelhouse as that, but I do think that they can coexist without any issue. And for me, I was not only entertained by this one, I enjoyed it. But Spider-Verse was unlike anything I've ever seen. So I'm very excited to talk about Across the Spider-Verse. And it looks like we got a comment from Ronan, Jor-Els, Sam. When are we talking about the last one?
We need to. Let's set it up. This was such a great conversation, bro. Make sure you save this to the Google Drive because like I need to upload my version of this immediately so it gives me more time to release these mind-melting shorts that I'm working on. Because, dude, this was a great conversation, genuinely. It was very curious to see your side. I'm sure it's curious for people who love this movie to see my side, because Lord Jesus. It did not work for me. At least there were like some things that I liked fleetingly.
I went into this, you guys, I was like, I'm coming in with nothing and I'm going out with nothing. He's not. I told Jor-El was like, why do you want to do this? And like, what are you trying to get? I was like, I just want to have the conversation.
Right. Why
you want to do this?
I still don't understand. Like, this movie, of all the movies you wanted to debate, this is the one you wanted to debate? Why?
Yeah, I think this is a good one. So let's see, Lowdown. I was entertained. Were you talking about? You entertained by the movie or this discussion?
Probably the movie.
Okay.
If I had to suspect, it's probably the movie. Which, hey, listen, God bless you. Okay, if you loved or liked this movie, listen, God bless you. May He keep you. May He wrap you in the warmth of His embrace. Okay, but that was not me. Okay, did you guys hear that? Please tell me that you heard this, because there's like a borderline hurricane outside. It's insane.
I heard it. We're gonna go so Jor-El can find safety wherever he is. But again, make sure you go down to the description bar below. Subscribe to Jor-Els Alexandria. Thank you guys so much for watching this for 2 hours and 25 minutes. That's insane. We out, people. We gotta go. Peace.